Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first radio show of Sounding the Archive, a show organized by Charlie Clark, who is on my side, and myself, Henriette Gillerot. We are two students in curating at Goldsmiths College and are having a so-called archive research placement at Cubitt. A quick introduction for those who don't know what Cubitt is. Cubitt is an artist-run cooperative based in Islington, London. It was founded by a group of artists in 1991. Today, it consists of a non-profit gallery, an education program, and 32 artists who have a studio here. The idea behind the archive research placement at Cubitt, on which Charlie and I are working on, is to activate, to rethink, and to re-encounter the now 30 years old archive of Cubitt.
Sounding the Archive will happen once a month till December, platforming emerging multidisciplinary artists who work with speech and sound. Each artist will present a sound piece responding to Cubitt's archival materials. And through this project, we want to look at how the space of the archive can be activated for its community and shared in a creative and accessible way. The sounds work in each show will result in an exhibition at Cubitt in early 2023, alongside the archival material that inspired it.
And all this is possible thanks to the radio platform we are on, namely the Cubitt Community Radio. This platform has been created by studio artist Andy Amersha in celebration of Cubitt's 30th anniversary year. Andy, you're with us now. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for being here in your studio.
The artists taking part in this week's show are Camilla Peeters and Euan Gubbins. Camilla is a DJ, artist, and writer, currently finishing a master's degree in sonic art at Goldsmiths. She DJs under the name of Instar and is part of the Belgian women's rave collective Burenhinder. Thanks for coming on the show, Camilla.
And next to us we have Euan. And Euan, you will receive an introduction when you will show your work later on. Thank you. Thank you for being with us, Euan.
Great, then if everyone's ready, we'll begin the show. Camilla, we're excited to hear the sound piece you've made for today. Do you have anything you want to say about it before you begin?
Not really yet.
Great. Then
Let's
yeah,
go.
when you're ready. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Yeah, it's really hot in here. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Yeah. It was a really beautiful piece. Before we put Ewan on the mic, do you want to tell us a bit about how the piece you made connected to the archive? And what you found in the archive that made the piece?
When I went into the archive, I obviously looked for sound pieces. And then I found the work by Henri Chopin. And his work was very structured around sound sculptures and sound totems. And I had a kind of love-hate relationship with his art because he claims to be very unromantic and very against gods and against ideals and against all of these things. But yet he really denounces all the newer technology and really harks back to this older idea. And almost I started seeing the sound totem as a shrine of sorts or a memorial. And then I was thinking about decay in sound and decay as connected to music, I guess. And also in general, the idea of a fake ruin, which is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, where there's lots of art pieces that are designed to look like something in decay, which in itself I think is a really interesting concept. Anyway, I started to go from there, and then I was thinking a lot about what would he think of DJing and using decks as a creative practice. And then I read a lot of Paul Miller, who was a brilliant writer about DJing, who kind of set DJing on the map as a creative art practice. And I brought some excerpts that I could read.
Yeah, great.
But we could also save them for the longer.
Yeah, we can come back to those.
So that's kind of the first part.
Super interesting. I love
And then the
idea of
second part has to
decay,
do with angels, which just in general I've just keep seeing since I've moved to London, which was last October. And just being here and the fact that Cubitt is situated at Angel Muse was for me another symbol of some kind, and it kind of brought everything that I've been gathering over the year together. And some of the sounds, some of the opening sounds, I've tried to create what in my head would be the sound of an angel, or but in fact I think that heaven, or if there were any angels, it wouldn't be soft. I think people often imagine that it would be very soft and sweet sound, but I think it would be very noisy instead. But yeah, that's kind of a quick.
It's amazing. That's so much to reflect on. And now, thank you so much. That was really beautiful. We'll chat to you a bit more later.
Thank you, Camilla. Very interesting. So, our next artist is Euan Gubbins. Oh, sorry. Hello, Ewan. We are here in the studio of Andy, and we are setting everything up for your set, Ewan, after the magnificent set of Camilla. And so, Ewan, in my eyes, knowing you as an artist but also as a friend, you're kind of an all-round artist whose artistic practices emerges from being outside. You play with the production of ideas and objects in many types of artistic forms: videos, photos, music, poems, drawings, and even dances. You always try to give your practices a certain duration, with the hope of finding the possibility of something else. Hello, Ewan, and it's your show now.
Woo! Hello, 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 hello. Thank you, Henriette, for the most excellent introduction. Much too kind. Um, I guess I'll just do some talking while we're setting up the stuff. The piece, I guess we'll all sort of be performing a piece which involves pre-recorded field recordings and live performed text and also some live music. And the piece is called Euston Road Revisited.
Perfect, thanks.
Play some buttons. Press some buttons.
You
Are we ready to play the track? Okay, let me know when you go. And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. What's this? I count to 10 and wake up in an archive, a keeping place. It resembles the keeping place I left behind in my sleep, where all the fragments are kept. I look through the leaves and branches of this place, listen to the plastic canopy. From the top of the tree, I spot a sign pointing to King's Cross 25 years ago. A route, a way to go inside and outside at the same time. Like the one I can hear underground, rumbling beneath the floor of the keeping place. I run and throw my bags into a boxcar, haul and clamber aboard, and follow the text rails to King's Cross. Number 1, to recall, to surprise, to walk, too long, to construct, to write, to tell, to speak, to repeat, to return, to revive, to retrace, to trace, to face, to reverse, to realize, to move, to go. To emancipate. Winter in King's Cross, freezing under blankets and blankets. One little heater burning dust into smoke. Music was thin, scratching, cold and blearily glorious in the brown and grey street. We have never been here before, yet this place is strangely familiar. It recalls other places, Glasgow, Birmingham. It uncovers an invisible map we didn't realise we were in.
To travel.
Summer in King's Cross, drifting through dry trees and tar, passing under the flaking plasterwork, listening to the butcher shout in the street to passing friends, seeing him turn up in the early hours when the street is hot and quiet, drifting down to the tall flowers in St. Pancras Gardens, sitting in the shade of the wide green leaves.
To develop.
Sometimes.
Number 2. To excavate.
Sixu says a song comes from the ruins. Everywhere there is nostalgia. Among the new reverse ruins, building sites. Nostalgia for King's Cross is impossible. But what did it suggest before that is now lost?
To remember.
From Road Up by Stevie Smith, found by chance this morning. It seemed a curious place to rest one's body and take one's ease. Here in the very middle of the Euston Road. Now if it had been on the Thames green bank, under poplar trees, but here the traffic instead of water flowed.
To emancipate.
To to excavate, to dig, to unearth, to desecrate, to remember, to misremember, to see, to uncover, to dust off, to ask, to vandalize, to subvert, to unleash, to move, to go.
To escape.
The archive reveals that St. Pancras Station in 1997 contained a fish and chip shop, a branch of William Hill, and a cafe called Del's Sandwiches. It also records often that people avoid this place. They still do. She travels up to Scotland, and only there, finding that Charles Isaac Ward, formed Hampstead's picture dealer, died in the St. Pancras workhouse in 1894.
To travel.
Someone.
Number 3. To develop.
Somehow.
To excavate.
They cross an unseen threshold. The gum fossilized into the pavement is pressure washed away. The warm smell of urine disappears. They are watched. Scaffolding rises. Developers dance on the workhouse graves. Scaffolding rises. Each luxury races self-destructively towards a gesture of pure luxury. What will emerge behind the scaffolding?
To emancipate.
The palaces are silent and uninhabited. Striped hooks descend. Workmen fly through the air in splendid orange outfits. We roll back our time minute by minute, disappearing into the woods of text. Watched and watched by unknown eyes, from ever more inconceivable sides, yet on each journey home from work, from the north side behind the scaffold, steps out the dance of clock and compass in red Midlands brick.
To escape.
To develop, to build, to obscure, to structure, to control, to cover, to hide, to finance, to patronize, to condescend, to wreck, to vandalize, to compromise, to take, to move, to go.
Number 4. To travel.
To travel, to pass, to escape, to step, to roll, to follow, to ask, to search, to visit, to run, to remember, to forget, to not know, to try, to exhaust, to go crazy, to write, to speak, to return, to leave, to think, to glean, to move, to go.
To develop.
He wrung Sticking's cross at the crack of dawn, 2 handcuffed men smoking outside. The wide Euston Road leads through the whole island city, passing through all the different musics. He looks west.
There are any passengers requiring from Westgate into Doncaster, please be aware your tickets are valid for travel, but it's not the railway services from London City Council. Passengers requiring Doncaster, Wakefield and Leeds, please don't use change trains. Once again, we do apologise for this if your disruption this afternoon. Further information regarding this situation will be provided by the
To excavate.
Somewhere.
This is a security message. If you see something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text the British Council Police or cease
To remember.
I turn the pen, Durham Cathedral turns in the blue time. The motion breaks the motion of a problem. There will be no tears, only the joy of mad motion.
To emancipate.
It recalls other places. It points to more. Belfast, Cork City, Boston, the locks of Fermanagh. An old road sign pointing to Boltinglass, 4 miles. A poster for a ship to New York. The Pontiac. Skipper Captain Moses. It leads to other unknown homes. It leads to the sea, to everywhere via everybody.
6. To emancipate.
Suddenly, a huge rainstorm covers King's Cross. Figures shelter under the awnings of temples. We run into the columns of water, letting out a crazy whooping cry. Each minute grows more violently absurd, yet we cut keys instead of illuminating cages, knowing that time is not a ledger written in the heaviest ink.
To escape.
We tumble towards the music playing in Mazzetti Square, a name known only to those who might wish it. Imagining the music not by its sound, but by the way it would feel to listen to it and to dance to it.
To travel.
Something.
To develop.
I look west down the wide Euston Road. Out of nothing begins a quiet performance. A little child's dance that turns like the cathedral. A soft little song, a gentle melody.
To excavate.
To emancipate, to sing, to remember, to keep, to seek, to play, to suddenly understand, to forget again, to break free, to realize, to labor, to demand, to defy, to make possible, to dance, to move, to go.
to remember.
Woo! Well done, Ewan. Thank you very much for this beautiful piece. So yeah, let's speak a little bit about it before going all together at the table and speak about your performances, because I think that's also kind of a thing. It's really 2 performances we've had here. But Ewan, you...
Hello.
Hello, Ewan. Thank you.
Hi.
Do you want to speak more about your piece, or do you want me to ask you questions, or?
What questions did you have?
Well, I'm just super curious about how it felt for you to revisit the King's Cross area, thanks to the archive, but also thanks to the work you've just done now and that you've showed to us, and how you feel about it.
How did it feel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. I mean, it was nice to go back, but then I think I go back there maybe too much. So it wasn't like unfamiliar. I kind of always go there. Maybe I should have gone somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe for another time, if you dig further in the archive.
Yeah.
For another
That one,
area.
yeah. There was like a Belgian newspaper in there that had some maps in it, but I couldn't
Yes.
read the Flemish.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have gone there though. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wish you were there.
Yeah, I think before getting further to a conversation, I just want to quote one sentence of the archive of the book you used mostly, namely the
Yes.
one of Eidik King's Cross and the exhibition Urban Generations. At a certain moment, they quote Jan Nern, who wrote in 1966.
Oh, Ian Nairn, yeah.
Yeah, the whole of this place at the back of St. Pancras is incredibly moving.
Mm-hmm.
If you really get nothing from it at first, stay there until something happens. It really is worth the effort. And I think it's beautiful with what you've done and what's...
He was a nice writer about London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we should talk about how it relates to the archive. This piece was based on material from an exhibition that I found in the boxes. An exhibition 25 years ago, all about the King's Cross area, that was put on by students from the Architectural Association. And this was an amazing exhibition that was all about rethinking how you could, or thinking of a different way to think about a place in the city. Instead of using statistics and kind of traditional methods, they took a much more playful approach and built this exhibition out of it that was kind of based around games and using a thesaurus as a way to consider a place. And that was just before the international European train tunnel was built. So I thought it would be great to go. I've always been interested in King's Cross area, so I thought it would be good to go back there with this new ideas from this amazing exhibition and make a new piece based on that, because everything has changed 25 years later, and it's interesting to see these students made amazing proposals for what could happen in King's Cross, and now what's really happened is quite different from what they imagined might happen in a slightly sad way, because now it's like a big shopping centre and
indeed.
all
But
that.
you've revisited also in a kind of a positive way, I think, with your work now.
Yeah, I really like that place, and in making a piece of work, always trying to not make a piece of representation that is kind of trying to capture what's there or recreate something, but instead, much like in the original King's Cross exhibition, make something that could show a different possibility, but something that could actually happen as well, not making it something totally fictional, but looking at what's there and saying, well, maybe we could do this instead, even if no one will let us. But then the piece is letting us. So hopefully that's what I did.
It is.
Boop, boop, boop.
Thank you, Ewan.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go around the round table
Yeah, let's go for
with
a
King
round.
Arthur. Also, thanks to Andy for setting everything up for this horribly complex piece. Should we move in? I think we need another bumper, yeah. Just keep pressing them off.
Great. So I guess, Camilla, coming back to you, it'd be really interesting to hear a bit more about the process behind the making of the work. It sounded, thank you so much. It obviously sounded really layered in the piece, which was really beautiful, and loads of textures and levels. And you were speaking a bit before about angels potentially not sounding really angelic as we have this idea of them, and I definitely got that in the piece. It sounded more like trolls kind of walking through a forest, which I don't know, maybe this is like angels walking through heaven like trolls, I don't know. But also just like technically and stuff, it'd be interesting to hear more about your process.
Yeah, so the piece was basically made with 2 modular synthesizers and 1 sequencer. Actually 3 synthesizers, sorry. But I just recorded a lot of sounds because I really like using instruments in a kind of intuitive way, I guess. So just kind of intuitively seeing where the sound takes you rather than trying to chase after something specific, and then working with really long recordings and chopping them up into smaller pieces. And I really enjoy playing that through the decks because I find that you can modulate it in ways that I like. And also obviously my background, I was never classically schooled in anything musically, and I've been DJing for a while now, so to be able to approach that from a different angle, I guess.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Could you speak a bit more about your DJ practice and how that relates to your sound art work? And I think we spoke a bit before about, or you mentioned turntablism. maybe you could speak a bit about that, like what that is and how that kind of appears in your work.
Yeah, so I started DJing like a year and a half ago or something, and I was picked up by, we made it together. We made a collective that I'm part of in Belgium called Burenhinder. It's a hardcore collective, but I've always kind of been the more experimental one, I guess. But yeah, I think there has been a debate in Belgium specifically about DJing as an art practice, and it's interesting because only in April of this year was DJing recognized as a creative practice, which I found quite...
Who recognized it? Prime
like
Minister or something?
Like the National Association of Artists. It has to do basically with being able to be paid for your work as an artist.
Like the unions and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, turntablism. I use the term really loosely. I think I was just mostly really interested in the work of Paul Miller because I think the way he wrote about DJing was just brilliant and really changed the course of what it could be or could be seen as. I have a quote of some work that I've done with some quotes from him, so I can read that if you like. DJs like Paul Miller, aka DJ Spooky, revolutionized what DJing could be like, but maybe even more so how DJing could be theorized and finally respected as a craftsmanship. To Miller, who is a brilliant writer, I quote, "The DJ combines the musical expression of other musicians with their own, and in the process creates a seamless flow of music. Call the mixes and songs generated by the assembly process of DJing and sequencing, etc., the social construction of memory," end quote. A mix then becomes, quote, "a rare and intimate glimpse into the process of cultural production in the 20th century," quote. So Miller's view of mixing as a way of sonic collage plus preservation of history gives much clarity over the importance of DJing, not only as a social and communal contemporary tool, but highlights also its previously ignored sides as a powerful tool for archiving. Hence the link to Cubitt. DJing often happens on the basis of a theme, genre, or effect, but the songs used are, maybe precisely because they are not the possessions of the DJ often, much larger than any one DJ. The songs are, quote, "sonic debris," unquote. That which tells you, quote, "you only know what you have never felt, what you thought you were feeling, because you have never really listened to what you were hearing," end quote. So, yeah, I found it really interesting that he talks about this idea of archiving and this kind of weaving of a net of social communal memory. And yeah, I was also just thinking of this connection between like the idea of sculpting through sound. Yeah, and I would recommend anyone to read the whole text by Paul Miller. It's fantastic. Yeah. I have more quotes here. It's really, really incredible writing.
Almost like folk music with the social construction of memory. What a great phrase. Reminds me of like older like folk music, or like oral tradition.
Yeah, definitely.
Super cool.
Yeah, for sure. There's this element of folklore in it. I think I've also been reading this book by Marshall McLuhan about kind of visual versus oral culture, and he speaks about that a lot, about like kind of how music has this power to re-tribalize us in a way, not necessarily like that's not like a bad word, but it's more like a concept, how we're like all reintegrated into this like same space, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in your practice and also in what you've shown today, the visuals were also important to you, or they are kind of a base in your work also. Maybe could you speak a bit about that, or am I making too much of a big deal of it. Maybe I don't know.
No. Yeah, the visuals are coming from all kinds of different sources, but pretty much, yeah. I've never been religious. I never grew up religious, and I never really was keen on being like. I never really felt like a gap or anything. But then when I moved to London, it was really strange. I would just keep running into the same symbols over and over again, to the point where I was like, even me, the super like dry whatever, started feeling this like weird, I guess, spiritual gap in a way that was getting filled somehow. And I just decided to start documenting it every time I would see it. And by now the collection has grown quite large. But I think, yeah, England is definitely a place full of angels. I have this book. I have it actually with me. I could show you if you want.
Yeah.
It's I'll
Show it to
quickly.
the camera.
Yeah, quickly grab it because it's
Yeah.
in my.
Was it angels that you kept? The symbol of angels?
Yeah, or like even just the word. You know, angel. We're literally we're in the neighborhood of angel, so it's also in the words. And I keep seeing like hairdresser is called Angelo or something.
Amazing.
Gabriel's sandwich bar.
Amazing. Oh, that looks so nice.
Yeah. So I got this book not too long ago. It's called it's called The English Angel. Here? Yes.
Camilla's just showing the book to the viewers.
And it's basically composed of just a lot of pictures. It's a photo book. But it also has some nice text about how England is one of the countries with the most angel imagery of all time. And one thing that I particularly
Obsessed.
like is that, yeah, of course, have a look. Angels are very often depicted with instruments. So there is definitely this idea of them being able to make sound. So
Amazing.
yeah.
And Ewan, it seems like
They're mad for it.
documentation is quite a big part of your work as well, and your work is quite nomadic. You travel around quite a lot. I was wondering if you wanted to speak a bit about how place and travel and movement
Traveling
kind
around.
of, how that is important to you and how that comes up in your work.
When I was at art school, we watched the Agnes Varda's film, The Gleaners and I. Can't remember what the French title is. Les Glaneurs et Les Glaneuses. But that film was the best film we watched. It was like her way of. In that film, she travels all around France and follows, kind of like you were saying with the angels, follows the symbol of the gleaners who collect things that other people have thrown away. And that film is sort of a revolutionary film of a different way of thinking, by more moving as thinking and more engaging with the outside world, and she doesn't really know what's going to happen, and it leads to really unexpected places. And also, I really liked in that film, you see all different parts of France that you never saw before, and I've been trying to do that in my own work, of travel around as many places I can get to, like UK and Ireland and wherever
Yeah, and
you can reach.
the nice thing of it is also that she's much in contact also with les glaneurs et les glaneuses.
Yeah.
And you're in a way, in your work and what you've shown here also, is you're also kind of in contact with not only the people but the whole landscape you're in, and you just keep going, and that comes in her movie also back all the time, I think.
Yeah, I really liked the method of, and then when we were in the archive, it was kind of the idea of gleaning was a good way to find a way to do something in the archive, very chance based, process, picking up things that might be on the side of the road of discourse. But then also I found out that it has a long tradition in the UK as well. I read a Flora Thompson book, Lark Rise to Candlefoot, which is like a very old-fashioned book that was sort of written near where I grew up. And in her book, there's gleaning as part of it. It's also it's called leasing in that part of England, which I thought was a nice word. I like using it. Spread the word of leasing. Lees on the streets of Leeds and Glasgow.
Cool, super interesting everything, and the funny part of it also is that you both like worked on archival stuff, archival material, but now you're also both producing a new archive in a way. Like we will have a show in the beginning of 2023, hopefully here in Cubitt, showing your work, also showing what inspired you from the archive to make that work. And so the story just goes on.
Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe we should stop with this obsession with archiving of the...
Yeah, maybe we need to think of an
what is it, like
alternative.
server farms and stuff, or like destroying the world?
Yeah.
Maybe we should just destroy everything we've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe we should keep going.
It was interesting hearing that last quote in the text that you read, Camilla, and it seemed, what is it? It said something about like social collage or social.
Amazing quote.
Yeah, that bit.
I
at the
have
end.
more.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to go ahead. Yeah.
DJing as a social and communal contemporary
DJing
tool,
as a social and
as a powerful tool for archiving.
I have another quote, and I think this is the end of the text, and I also really like it. If you're hungry for more, he says, "Any sound can be you." Somewhere in the text, which I also thought was really cool. And then he says, "It is through the mix and all that it entails, the reconfiguration of ethnic, national, and sexual identity, that humanity will hopefully move into another era of social evolution. I can only hope that the world can shift into this new matrix without too much disruption. The other option, genocide, internecine ethnic strife and warfare, the complete destruction of the environment, and the creation of a permanent underclass that doesn't have access to technology, are what the future holds if humanity can't come to grips with these new and explosive forces technology has released in us all." I thought it was
God. I know which one we're going down at the moment.
Obviously it's a very dramatic quote, but I think it is really important to
Sounds
kind
about
of
right.
check in with yourself and try to like break these ideas of romanticism that you might not realize you have.
Get on the glean.
Get on the clean. Amazing.
Kill your darlings.
Yes, love the love the kill your darling. Great. Well, I think that's all we've got time for today, and that's a really nice note to end it on. Thank you, Euan. Thank you, Camilla.
Thank you. No,
Thank you
thanks
for
to
having
everyone
Andy,
else.
for all your help.
Thanks,
big up.
Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
If you guys are looking for something to do tonight, you should head down to Avalon Cafe. Euan's
Oh,
got
yeah.
a show on there.
Get
think
on
tonight's
down
the
to
final
the
night.
Avalon Cafe to see some crazy stuff.
Camilla, do you have any gigs coming up that people should head over to?
Unfortunately, they're all in Belgium, but if anyone is listening
Get
from
to
Belgium, the 3rd of September, I'm playing in Antwerp.
Amazing.
Let's go.
Everyone, road trip to Antwerp. Great. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Next show will be end of September. See you then.
See you.